Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Organics Show. My name is Jordan, and today's conversation we are joined by Tianda from uForage app or the uForage app. Tianda is an extraordinary woman, and along with her partner Valentino and the inspiration and I guess trials and tribulations of her four wonderful children are bringing us an amazing app that I highly recommend we all download after this conversation. The uForage app is helping connect growers and people in the community who want to share produce, people who need to find local organic grown produce. It's teaching the ability to forage and find food in times of need and teach you the skills that it is required for all things self-sufficiency. And without going into too much of it, I'll let Tianda jump in and explain more about the app. But I was very moved by her story, and I highly encourage you to go and check out more on their socials about the story. After this conversation, it's quite remarkable what it's taken to get this app off the ground. And on a personal note, I'm extremely grateful for Tianda sharing all of the trials and tribulations she's gone through to make it this far, to be able to launch the app, and the heart and the spirit and the passion that she shares for helping the community and to grow a better future for us all. So, after this conversation, please go and check out all of her links. I will put them in the description. But for now, here's the wonderful Tianda from uForage.
Valentino would be my partner, would be the one to talk to you about that. He grew up in an Italian household, and as far as he knew, until he went out into the world and made friends, you didn't have lawns, it was gardens. So it was just such a weird thing for him when he had friends coming over for the first time, and you couldn't like run over there and do chasey or whatever because there's like garden. You can't, no,
Yeah.
dad will lose it, sort of thing. So he was the one, he's been the one that's had the influence over gardening in my life now. My childhood was very, very different, and I ate the worst food. Like I remember I used to be training for Ironman type competition, surf club stuff with Courtney Hancock, who's like up there in the league of Iron Women in Queensland. She was one of my people that I train with, and my diet at that point, like as a athlete, was like a Coke for lunch and a chocolate bar to go with that. No
Oh,
breakfast. Like
no.
my diet was terrible, and later on in life, like I started to just sort of pick up on little things myself, like, oh, that's not so good. And I remember this is like totally left field, but some people around me were doing this thing called Lent, which I'm sure you know what that is.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, well, for Lent, I'm just not going to have chocolate and sugary drinks. And I was like 14 or 15 and just decided on my own that that was something that I was going to do. And I remember I set my alarm for the end of that period, like for midnight, like 12:01, and I sat up and I had a chocolate and I had a gull of Coca-Cola or whatever it was, and I just felt so bad the next day. And that was the first like time for me that I sort of went, oh, maybe this stuff isn't the best decision for me and my health. And then later down the track, my dad would get cancer, and that kind of transformed everything. And that was where I started making food from scratch. And like now I like to say Valentino's the one in the garden and I'm the one that cooks. And
Cool.
that was never a thing for me either, like until I became a mum essentially, and I bought a Thermomix, and that thing taught me how to cook. It's like if
Awesome.
like in terms of like healthy eating and gardening and growing things from scratch, cooking from scratch, like no one was further removed than me as a child to where I am now. So yeah, it's definitely been a
That's
very long,
awesome.
winding journey.
Yeah, I like that though, because it shows that like even if you have no exposure to gardening or like that kind of way of life, it can be captivating enough or like motivating enough, whether it's health reasons, family, cooking for your kids, whatever it might be, that you can actually kind of get really interested in it and start to make it something of your own. Um, and then obviously, like, you spoke about Valentino. He's a big part in this and this whole process of you finding gardens and healthy eating and then moving into creating this wonderful app. So we might jump into the app a little bit later, but why don't you give me a little bit of an inception story as to the thought of why you might have needed something like this app eventually. So where did it all kind
Yeah.
of start?
I ask myself this question a lot because those years leading up to when the app was born, all I can put it down to is like PTSD from all of the things that we've been through, that the past kind of gets jumbled up for me a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember really clearly meeting some new mum friends and being invited over to this mum's house who I'd never been there before. And it's like, yeah, come bring the kids. They can swim in the pool. We can sit and relax and have some snacks and bring a plate. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this sounds good. And off I went with my little, I don't even remember what I took, but something, that was crunchy or organic, or
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to, that's where I am at, and that's the kind of people I wanted to surround myself with. And we sat down at this table and I just picked up this strawberry that was on there and I bit into it, and it was the most incredible strawberry. I've told this story. I feel like really silly going over it, but it
No.
was insane. Like, it was the first time, when you taste something from the garden, you've only ever had it from the shops, and then you taste something from the garden, and it's just like, wow, it was that kind
Yes.
of moment. And I said to her, my God, where did you get these? It's amazing. And then she told me about a roadside stall that was about another like 1.5 kilometers down the. So I found this stall like 1.2 k's down the road. Never have I been down that road. Never would I have had any other reason to go down that road aside from meeting that mum, having that encounter with the strawberries. And that roadside stall took me from, I have 4 kids, like, and I want to buy organic food. But for me, even going to the markets was so expensive
Mm.
and it wasn't attainable for me. And then all of a sudden I'm introduced to this roadside stall and I go and check it out, and it is loaded. Like, I can do, I reckon, 65 to 75% of my fresh fruit and veg from this roadside stall.
Wow.
And the mum that introduced me starts telling me, oh, yeah, I know, I've got to know the people. I've been shopping at this store for years. And she tells me about their farming practices. And over time, I meet them too. And I speak to them and I hear from them. And now I'm able to get like organic. It's not certified, of course, but I know from what the farmer has told me, the practices are that it's spray free. And
Mhm.
it's like a fraction of the cost of what I would have been paying if I was going to the supermarket to get organic food or going to the farmer's market to get organic food. And so that was like the first like wow moment for me. I know that there's more roadside stalls around. Just where are they? Like, how
Yeah.
do you find them? Because if I hadn't met that mum, I would never have gone to, like, literally, there's no reason for me to go that direction. I would never have gone there. It's only a couple of Ks out of my way.
Wow.
And so that kind of thought process started the cogs turning, I suppose. And then further down the track, um, I mean, the Valentino's family, as I mentioned before, they're Italian. I remember distinctly visiting them in Canberra. It was Christmas or something. And like, it's hard to explain. If you have Italian relatives, anyone listening to this, you'll fully understand. They make their passata and the salami and all that, like, traditional practices. They're making all this beautiful food and even having their own gardens. And they're literally passing the same stuff from one person to the other. Oh, I bought you beans. Thank you. Like, I already have the, just passing the same stuff around and around and around and around to each other. And I was just like, as an Aussie, I would kill for passata.
Yeah.
That was the first kind of, and I started talking to Valentino about that and just being like, do you know like how many people would just love the opportunity to share in that? And then we started talking. His mum does markets, but she doesn't sell those sorts of things in the market. She makes muesli and biscuits and all that kind of little things like that. But the fact through COVID, she wasn't able to do that.
Mm.
So we started having these conversations. Well, how could it be that they could share that, even if they're not a stall holder at a market, or if they were, but then something like this happens and they can't get to the market? There's nothing in place to sort of offer that opportunity for people. Like, I bake sourdough bread, and
Yum.
I had mums at the school like ordering sourdough bread. And I knew that if it was open to a wider community, I could have served more people. But it was just that balance. Do I want to take it there or not? Even if I did, how would I do that? I'm probably going to be in community groups on Facebook or something, just plugging away every week. There's no thing to find your local food. And that's what really started the idea going. And
I
yeah,
love
it's
it.
just there. It's
Yeah,
just built.
it's really cool. Sorry to jump in. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about that because um, I, well, actually, would have been an episode or two previous to this one when it comes out. But I spoke to a man named Tim who started a garden share project in the local area, and it's where people would come from the community, bring excess produce, seeds, whatever it may be, and knowledge, of course, and be sharing and connecting and swapping and trading and say, hi, I want a cutting of this, or hey, I've got a whole bunch of these today. You can share them around the lettuces or whatever it is for the week. And it was that idea of sort of connecting and bringing everyone together. But you're right, it comes from this, I guess, Facebook group where you have to be online and you have to be connected to this single group, and you can't easily find another group in a different area or another, or even just to kind of in between meetings, go
Yep.
to someone's house or something like this. So the need for something where you can go and find, as you say, local homegrown and organic food readily available. And some people have an absolute glut of some produce. You know, sometimes they got apples
Yep.
or lemons coming out of their ears, and
Yep.
it's kind of like, how
I
do
do
they
agree.
make use of it? What can they do with it? You know, and it just
And it
ends up
gets to the point
spoils.
where neighbors are like, enough. Like we've had that too. We've had people giving us lemons and we're like, dude, we cannot take any more lemons. Like really grateful, but I can't have any more lemons. So I fully that's very much part of the vision. But the other thing is too, like from a perspective of a mum or a family who want to have access to that produce, don't have the time, skills, or knowledge to have their own garden. I'm seeing it all the time across Facebook groups that I'm in. Mums are, how do you budget? How do you afford to buy organic food for your family? Where do I find a farmer where can I find a farmer that has meat? Ever since that Boveus thing came out, like
Yes.
everyone's losing their minds. Like, where can I find a farmer? Like, this is for me. I just get so fired up and so passionate. Like, the hardest thing is explaining to people this is not a thing where you have to sign up or, that it costs you money. It's literally a free map of all of the food. And if you're a producer or you want to sell stuff from your home or you want to share things from your garden, this is it. Like, this is where you need to be instead of trawling through Facebook groups or going to the community garden and trying to find where the groups are. I've seen so many crop swaps and I think they're amazing and I want to see that happening. But how do you find them?
Mm,
How do you get to those community groups, especially if you're not online? Or if you don't have the time and you just want the fresh produce, where do you find it?
yeah. Yeah.
Farmers markets are often during the week. You can't, especially the one in Moolumbar here, it's on a Wednesday. Like, how do you,
Yeah.
there's so many factors that come into it. And for me, like having it all in the one place just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, this is a massive reason why I want to highlight what you're doing and the app itself, because I think it is a game changer for so many of us. And like for myself, like you said, I have to go, okay, Sunday morning is the markets, carve out that time and kind of go, all right, I've got to go and, get this, this, and this. But it could have come from halfway across Queensland for from the farmer or something like this. And I actually want to support people that are growing locally and get access to local food. Or even, I suppose, if you're traveling, you might even be able to use it as well and
Yeah.
find some
Yeah.
some stuff.
I've
So
been in that situation where I've had my own chickens and then I go on holidays and I'm like, how can I can't buy supermarket eggs.
yeah,
Where
yeah,
can I find some eggs?
that's so good. So let's dive into a little bit about the app itself.
Oh,
So um, tell me about it. Is it free to download? Can
it is.
you sign up? You sign up as a just a customer
Yep.
and you can just go and search and find your own food?
So there's no, like, the sign up is the same for everyone, whether you have stuff to sell, whether you don't have stuff to sell, whether you're giving things away, it's all the same. You create an account basically, And then how you interact on the app decides the kind of person that you are within the app.
Hmm.
And you can
Yeah.
be both. We have it so that I can't expect every single person with a roadside stall to suddenly know about uForage and get on and pin it. So we've made it so that if you're driving past or you have a favorite roadside stall, that you can actually pin it as a customer, and you can say, I'm not the owner, I'm just a visitor, but I want to pin this location on the app. And I
Cool.
mean, down the track, I hope that we can have it so that the owner can come on and go, actually, this is mine, and we can
Mm.
verify that somehow. And yeah, I mean, look, it's a running, moving thing. It's changing all of the time. It is free, and that can't stay that way forever.
Hmm.
Um, so we've spent almost $200,000 on building this
Goodness
app,
me.
and I just want to tell you, like, we're not anything special. We're not a high income family. We have 4 kids. We're a family of 6. We're living in a shed. We could have built another home after the floods and put our money into that, but instead we decided
Yeah.
the vision for uForage was too big, and that's so we went, no, we'll just deal with this for now and live in a shed.
Yeah.
So we actually, Valentino's income is it for us. That's all we have. So as a single income family, we've spent nearly 200K on this, and it's literally just been like a second mortgage for 2.5 years.
Yeah. I
Um,
can imagine.
we're just chipping away at it, and that's the way we've done it. And part of the reason we've had it free for so long is because our vision is that everyone can have access to food, and we want to keep it that way. But we also need to receive money because it's costing us, on top of the money we've already invested, it's costing us in servers and all updates and all sorts.
Yes.
So we've been having a lot of conversations about this and how we can do it in a way that people can still access it if they need to. We've landed, and I've just discussed this with my developer in the last couple of weeks, on a pay what you can kind
Wow.
of. So people, if they need it for free, they can get it for free. If people can afford $2 a month, they can pay $2 a month. So that's the kind of
That's really interesting. I think that's like really admirable of you to try and balance it for different people. My first thought, like, as you say, you've poured your heart and soul into this. Your whole family is making extreme trade-offs, which I want to get into the whole story about the floods and the fact that you are in the shed at the moment. Yeah, it's an amazing story. But I just think of someone like how easily people will pay for something like Netflix or something like, they'll go out and spend $100 on a meal on the weekend or something like this. And to get access to food locally and have the ease of all of finding it and connecting and getting all of this, I think it's a very worthy investment. And I would personally be happy to pay at least like, $10 a month to be able to access that food because it's an investment in our health, in the connection of community and supporting other people that are growing good food. And of course, you guys creating the wonderful app in the first place.
thank
So
you.
yeah, no, I think it's so important. And because what you're, like, as you said, the vision is really strong. It's such an important thing, and I think we all should go and jump on board with it. Um, Tell me, let's go a little bit into some of the, I guess, like features that you'd like to highlight from this app. So, like in terms of, say, if I was a street vendor or I had a little road stall, what are some ways that I could kind of promote what I've got, or like how can I showcase what I'm selling? And is it just as easy as having a map and seeing, hey, there's Jordan's stall on the side of the road, and then you click on it and there's a few photos and some information as to what I've got?
Yeah, that's basically it. It's that simple. And we've built in, I loved your question just in the pre-notes, like about things that I found challenging because I'm
Mm.
not a very technical person. And to build an app from scratch, never having done anything like this was such a challenge. And just even the little things, like I built in messaging so people can message each other and say, hey, can we meet
Wow.
up? Where's the place to meet up or whatever, but didn't consider that you would actually need something to let you know that there's a message in your inbox. So we launched and people are messaging each other and had no idea, oh, there's a message in my inbox. So just little things like that, right? It's been such a journey. And I just want to remind people that are logging on, like I use apps every day, and they're not perfect. They still have bugs and issues, and sometimes I have to uninstall them and reinstall them or update them or whatever. Like from a perspective of where we've come from and what we've achieved in the time that we have, it's not perfect, and it will continue to evolve and change and grow as people come on board and give us feedback. But when you're logging on, just remember, like, it's literally just me and Valentino
Yeah.
working on this behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But one of it was an afterthought was there was a share button, but I didn't think to let the developers know that you actually need to link that so that when it's a sharing, it actually comes back to the app. Because initially the share button was just like giving you the written information about the listing
Yeah.
rather
Okay.
than something you could click on and it would take you back. It's called deep links, apparently. So yeah, we've got deep links now, and that would be a great way, to share with people what you've got on the app if you've listed
Cool.
something. Um, but the other way is when you're going into adding, I love this one because people don't think about it. When you're adding a thing, like a roadside store, for example, you're a small roadside store holder. If you have different produce at different times, enter in, it's got a product space. And if you enter each product, it's like keywords. So when people come onto the app and they're searching for bananas and they type in bananas, your listing will come up. If you just put it in and just put the name of your roadside store, take a few photos when you're open and done, and thinking the photos will do the justice. If someone's coming on looking for something specific, you're not going to show up in the search results. So I guess, yeah, that's a great way you can
That
optimize
is.
your listing and get more people jumping
Yeah,
onto.
that was going to be my question is because sometimes we're searching for specific things. We go, oh, I just need some eggs. Like
Yeah,
I've run out of eggs. Who's local? Who's got some?
yeah,
And I might just whack in eggs. And that is a really good way of having, someone come up and say, yep, we've got plenty. Come on down. That kind of thing.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, yeah, you're right. I wanted to just double click on the fact that you said that it is a work in progress and it's a moving, evolving thing because this is a community-based app essentially. So you require a lot from the community with feedback and and helping out with what might be a good idea and what might not, and what works and what doesn't work. And as a small team, like I have absolutely no idea how to create an app. So I admire you guys for jumping in with that. It must be insanely difficult. And, learning something, the ins and outs of something that like you want to be doing organic food and organic gardening and that kind of thing, but then you're talking about deep links and trying to work out like all of this other
Uh,
stuff.
and even like to take you a step further on the actual journey, like when we started developing the app, we didn't have great internet. Like we're off grid out here, completely off grid. So our internet was our phone hotspotting on the windowsill of like,
Wow.
and we'd get updates to that. It would just take hours to like load the app. It was, but yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes the reality of what we've gone through, building an app in the bush, off grid with 4G hotspot, I mean, we're obviously improved since then, but yeah, it's really been quite a remarkable thing that's happened out here through everything we've been through and all of the challenges we've faced. It's yeah.
Yeah, let's touch on some of those challenges. I know like it's probably not all that fun to relive sometimes, but um a little bit about kind of how you started. Obviously, you have I love the photos of your property and things that you've shared. It looks like an amazing place to live. And in Murwillumbah and surrounding areas is gorgeous. So you have had this wonderful property and you started in your shed, sort of coming up with the ideas and things like this.
Mm.
Um, but unfortunately, you had a terrible time with the floods, which we've spoken about a couple of times with some guests who live in and around the areas. And I can't even imagine what that was like to go through. So tell me a little bit about pre-floods and, getting excited, getting the shed organized into a little workshop and space, and then
Yeah,
having to
sure.
go
I'd love to
through
tell you
that
this story.
that change. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so to give you a bit of a picture, we bought this property in, I think it was 2018, or maybe it was 2017, somewhere around there, just after the last, like the 2017 floods. So we didn't really realize, I mean, we knew, obviously, we're right on the Tweed River. or alongside it. We knew that there would be flooding.
Mhm.
We just didn't think, we thought 2017 was pretty major flood, so it's unlikely we're going to have another one in the future anytime soon. Anyway, we had time, we thought. So to give you an idea of what we came out here, the property is beautiful. It's 52 acres. It's very much a rainforest kind of setting.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And we're at the bottom of a cliff. So like it's wet, it's moldy a lot, like there's a lot going on here. And when we first came out, the house or the house that was here, the dwelling was not approved. And it
Wow.
was like a throw together tip shop job. Like there was no walls, just windows, like odd random windows that were placed
Wow.
everywhere. No water, no power, no toilet, like no septic, nothing in place.
Wow.
So I moved out here with my two children at the time and with Valentino, of course, and we just started chipping away at it. And like we went from taking them out to the bush to do their business, to go to the toilet, to putting in a septic. And it was just like, oh my God, we have a toilet.
Yeah.
And I went doing school lunches out of an esky to a gas fridge. And then from a gas fridge, we put in like a small solar system. It was like, wow, we have power. And just
That's cool.
it was such a cool experience for the kids to really appreciate all of those little miles,
Yes.
right? So, and then I fell pregnant with Rosaria, and we sort of just went, okay, well, we always had the intention to build something else, obviously, that was better and a bit higher. But we just thought, okay, just for now, let's just put a bit of money into this, put a kitchen in, just make it livable and comfortable. And then as we get more money and grow, we'll move
Yeah.
and we'll something else. That was always the intention. And I think what happened is we just got comfortable and it was just easy. I fell pregnant again. So
Yeah.
changes to the house that it was comfy. And I remember just before the floods being like, oh, I need to clean this out. There's too much stuff. We live in a really small space. We need to do a purge. And sure enough, I got what I asked for in a major way. Um, to take you in a
Yeah.
major way, to take you a little bit further back, we started building this shed up as a workshop. So
Mhm.
the floor you won't be able to see, or you might be able to see just behind me, is actually bright yellow. And it
Wow.
was done like that because if my partner Valentino dropped a screw, he'd be able to find it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've literally just been familiar with flooding out here. We get cut off, I reckon, anywhere between 5 and 8 times a year, like our little crossing gets cut off. So I've
Wow.
always got like a surplus of, essential things like extra pasta and things, just
Hmm.
in case, potatoes and generally a little stockpile of milk or something. Um, and like, we're used to it. We've had the river come up and be in our backyard a number of times. It's nothing new. And what we always did when that would happen is go to our neighbor's house. It's a bit higher up because once that happens, we can't get out. Like
Yeah.
we can't even move out from our property because all the roads are cut. So just to get somewhere that's higher that we know is safe, that's always been what we did.
Mhm.
And what happened for this particular time was, as you know, all of the warnings were just for moderate flooding, which is normal, like
Mm.
walk in the park,
Yeah.
done this
Yeah.
before. So we went to our neighbors, spent the night there, had a terrible night's sleep, came back the next day, still raining, but like not heavy. And I'm just like, it's fine, it'll be fine. And Valentino is like, no, I think we need to go back to our neighbor's house again tonight. And I'm like, oh, like I think, can we just all sleep upstairs? Like I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Just can't, I don't want to do another crappy night's sleep. And he's like, no, we need to, So I was like digging in my heels a bit and I actually said, no, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to wash these dishes before I go because I don't want to come home to mess. Because he's like, we got to go, we got to go. It's getting,
Yeah.
coming up, it's getting late. We won't be able to get across. So anyway, I've washed the dishes and we've gone over to the neighbor's house. Just made it, like literally that it's engulfing the road as we're like turning up
Wow.
to his house. And we set up for the night and everything, and the kids are asleep, and it's like, I don't know, like maybe 11 o'clock, and I'm just like incessantly checking the river height on my phone, like watching it. It's just going up and up and up, and I'm starting to freak out. And
Mm.
I get my little phone torch and I go and I look like outside my neighbor's window, and he's got like this retaining wall, which is like the net where his house is on this level, and I can see the water just like lapping at this retaining wall,
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
goodness.
wow, this is getting bad. And I snuck upstairs at midnight and found my neighbor still awake. And I said to him, his name's Glenn, but we call him Bear. I said, Bear, I think we have to move upstairs. He said, I think you're right. And we had to go and wake up the family and move the children upstairs, move the mattresses upstairs, move anything valuable of his upstairs. And then we sit around and like trying to keep the kids calm, but having conversations about, well, what are we going to do if the water comes in downstairs? Because
Oh
if it
my
keeps
goodness.
coming, we can't stay on this top level. Like we have to get out and go higher. So we were like discussing these plans of like, okay, well, we're going to grab this, this, and this, and then we're going to go downstairs and out through the back door and up to the shed that's like we just, it was
Yeah,
insane like to be having these conversations at 1 and 2 o'clock in the
that is
morning,
insane.
knowing like that this river's just oncoming. Thankfully, that never happened. We moved up to the second floor and it didn't even come in his house, but it was one of the most frightening things ever.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But then to put it in perspective, just hearing the people in Lismore, being on their stuck on their roofs at 3 o'clock in the morning or in the cavities of their in the
Yeah.
roof in their house, like we had a place to go and we had a place to come back to, even if it was destroyed. We still had our land, we had
Hmm.
potential to build in the future. Many, many people didn't have that. Um,
Yeah.
so I think like we are generally positive, and I know not everybody is that way, but to me, to us, not at the time. Now looking back, it was definitely a blessing. It
Right.
was one of the most stressful events of my life to date,
Yeah.
and I don't think I'm fully recovered that
No.
stress. But it it just really shapes things differently for you and makes you so, so grateful for what you have. And the,
Yeah.
the generosity and the community and the way the community came together was so inspiring. And it really did help shape the vision and the soul behind what we've built. We were cut off for 17 days.
Whoa.
And thankfully, our neighbors have amazing gardens. Our other neighbor has heaps of livestock. Not that it ever came to that, but it was like,
Yeah.
the cogs are
Yeah.
like,
You're thinking
if we're
about
here
it.
for more like another 17K, yeah, yeah. But like I had my son in nappies. I almost ran out of nappies. I had to like trek through floodwater up to one of the other neighbors' houses who wasn't there. They lived in Brisbane and it was like their holiday thing. So I went up
Wow.
to there and I had to like raid their pantry for things because our pantry just got completely wiped out. Our neighbor's pantry had weevils all through the pasta and everything. So I was like trekking up to this other house and just going through his fridge and getting whatever we could, like just to thank God I knew how to bake bread. Like it was just one of those moments that we really relied on our local food network to
Mm.
sustain us through that period. And
Yeah.
it's one of the things, like I think of even now seeing the flooding up in far north Queensland, many people won't know where their food network is. And we were particularly lucky where we are. But if you did, like just imagine if you knew and you were able to connect with people in your area that weren't affected by the flood, that were that little bit higher, that have chickens or they
Hmm.
can bake bread. It's just times like that where community can just make such a difference. And that's definitely been like a solid precursor to what we've envisioned with uForage and how we hope it will help people
Yeah.
become more secure.
Yeah. That's honestly, Tianda, that's an incredible story. I feel like a bit like kind of moved for you, like going through something like that. And as you say, seeing like, I'm lucky that in up in Brisbane, I'm not in a position where we get affected by that kind of thing. But seeing, recently, as you say, in far north Queensland, what's happening there, and then knowing what happened in through Lismore and through your areas and stuff. I was speaking to Phil Dudman a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how, because he lives in Lismore, about how that all is affected, and you
Yeah.
just it's really easy in this modern world to kind of just sort of go, oh, that didn't affect us, or and kind of brush over things, and kind of you don't really realize the impact that it has until you're in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And I really love how positive you are about the experience. It would easily crumble a lot of people for good. So, but to be able to channel that into something positive and to really, as you say, highlight the importance of community, everyone coming together, being able to support each other in times like that, or even just in general times, like knowing where you can get your food, and yeah, and having access to supplies and all of these things, it becomes so crucial in times of crisis. And going through that, I'm sure, has made you very strong people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Like that.
yeah. I mean, it would rock you to your core, I imagine. But then, like, to be able to, as you say, be having these crazy conversations about having a plan to get out and having a plan to do this, that, and the other. I'm sure your kids have learned lots of resilience through all of that and seen mum go be a nice, strong leader in those moments. So I'm sure they're very inspired by. I'm inspired by that story. Um, so yeah, in terms of like then post floods, like having everything wiped out, all of your hard work on all of the property, and then being stripped bare of all of your things and everything. Tell me about coming back from that and the choice of like, which to most people is a crazy choice to be putting it into moving into a shed and going and putting it into a business idea rather than rebuilding your home. Like, tell me about that decision and
Yeah.
why that.
So I think right after the floods, I mean, obviously we were stuck for that 17 days. As soon as we could get out, we did, because although we're on heaps of land here and there's lots of space for the kids, it was toxic at that
Mm,
point. So it was like I couldn't, like, I was going crazy trying to keep the kids in the house, not going in the mud, not, it was really challenging. And at the first opportunity we had to get out of there, we were out of there.
yeah,
And we went and stayed with Valentino's cousin. He lives in Byron in the industrial estate. So we went and stayed there for a little while, and the plan was just to stay there. But obviously that came unraveled pretty quickly. Again, trying to keep kids, they were either in the house or we were out leaving
yeah.
to go somewhere, because there's cars just coming and going, and there's no, it was just a glass door. There's no screen or anything. So if we want fresh air, you just
Mm.
basically got to leave the house. It was very, very challenging. And
It's a very different lifestyle to the one that you'd lived in before. Hey.
my kids still laugh about this. We went to the park in Byron Bay, and I was breastfeeding my son Solomon, and I was just sitting there watching the kids play, and I was just all of a sudden I looked around and I just started to panic and said, "Where's Solomon?" And I literally had him in my arms breastfeeding, and I'm standing up and I'm going, "Kids, where's Solomon?" Like fully, and they're just like come and stared at me with their little blank faces, like, "You're holding him." Like, and that for me was just the real realization that I was completely out of my body after
Yeah.
what we'd been through, and
Mm,
that where we were wasn't working. So I actually had to move myself and the kids down to Coffs Harbour to be with my mum, stay with my mum. And the plan was to put them in, I was going to homeschool them. We were going to go back to homeschooling. And then I realized in the state I was in, that just wasn't going to happen.
mm,
So I planned to put them into a public school down there, which I did just for a term. And the idea was mum was going to cut back on her hours, look after the kids a bit, and the big kids, the older kids, and I was going to go back and forwards to try and help get this shed in some kind of order. And then my mum had a stroke.
oh my goodness.
So then I ended up caring for her and looking after the kids. And then a few weeks after that, Solomon, the little one that I was holding that I didn't realize I was holding, just learning to walk, put his hands in the oven at my mum's house and had to be flown to Westmead for burns. Like, honestly, when I tell people this story, it's like you wouldn't believe it. If I just told you and you didn't know me, you'd just be like, that's
Yeah,
bullshit. It didn't happen.
yeah.
It actually happened. It was
It's one thing after the
of our
other.
lives. And to go back to your question, it was. My nervous is, like I said, I haven't recovered. I'm still suffering from from that. Yeah. Um, when we, like, just before the floods, we made the decision to go ahead with uForage and the idea. And Valentino had found this developer through listening to podcasts and went, "This is the guy I think we need to work with." He's in Argentina, so Valentino's Italian. There's a little bit of, back and
Yeah,
forwards there with the language, and made it a little bit easier. And we committed to doing what's called I've had a total mind blank. It's like a mind map of the app, the wireframe. It's called the wireframe.
right.
So we tell them what we want it to do, And then they go ahead and they sort of make, okay, so here's the home screen. You click here, that goes there. There's a login button that goes there. Like it's how everything works and where everything goes. So it was about, I think, $3,500, $4,000 that we said, yep, okay, here's the money. We want you to
Hmm.
go ahead and do that. And they're about a month into doing this wireframe for us. And we go completely silent, obviously, because of the floods. We've lost internet connection, phone
Hmm.
connection, like the whole shebang. So finally we come back online like a week later and we're getting all these messages like, and they were starting to think, oh my God, these guys are just bailed, like they don't
Yeah.
want to do this anymore. And we've come back, no, 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 we're here, we want to do it. This is what's happened and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We just got to sort some things out. And they actually offered us the money back. And that was like the decision, like these are the guys we want to build the app just for that
Hmm.
integrity, that level of integrity, which we said no. We said, keep the money. We really want to do this project. It's just going to take a while for us to come back to you. And um,
Wow.
so that was the decision. Like, we're like, yep, we want to build with them. And then the decision in terms of, I don't know, it wasn't a decision. Like, we were all in. Once we went for those wireframes, in our minds, it was just, we were doing it regardless. It was
Mhm.
happening. And
Yeah.
then the thought process of, I knew as soon as that old house was flooded, I was already a little bit sick in there. I used to get like dermatitis on my hands and my eyes. And I was like sneezing all the time. I think it had mold in it
Mm.
from the previous flood. So once that second flood came through and we were discussing, he's like talking about hosing it out and like what we're going to do to fix it up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going back in there. So that shed, like missed out by a couple of millimeters, that's the place we're going back into. We're going to fit that out and we're going to live in that. And it wasn't even a thought process. I think it's after the fact we sort of were like, yeah, we probably could have put money into building that home that we always talked about building, but it wasn't even a thought. Like it wasn't even
Yeah.
it was like, no, we're doing this project and there's nothing else we've got the shed, it's a shed, but it's a home. It's a roof over our head. And it doesn't have to be fancy, although it's getting challenging now that older children are getting a bit bigger and needing their privacy. So we're working, we've got plans and things happening because of that. But yeah, it wasn't like a moment where we were like, well, we don't build this and we build a house, or it was never that thought process. It was more like just after the fact, just going, actually, the amount that we put into this, we definitely could have built a home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like that. And like, I admire that passion and belief, and I think that that's really important in anything that you're doing, to be super passionate and back yourself,
Mm.
in going like, this is something that I really believe we can make work. And it's probably a reason why it's being going so well for you guys since then. And I've seen you guys have won a nice little award locally and all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
pleased, like I'm so pleased and proud for you to see you come through all of that and to be able to, start reaping the benefits of that, I guess, leap towards towards that risk and to going through and things like that. Um, so tell me a little bit about now on future plans. Like how are you juggling um living in the shed and the plans for the both yourself, I guess, and the family, and then also the app? Like what's on the horizon for you?
Sure. In terms of how we're juggling, it's like parenting is like, I've always thought of it as learning to swim while swimming. And it's kind of the same for business. Um, It's a struggle, man. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is some days I don't get to uForage at all. And some days that's all I think about. And then the whole house just turns to disaster zone. Like if I move that thing there, you're going to see Mount Washington of all the washing that I haven't folded yet. It's a struggle. It's a struggle to do it all. But I think the growth that we've had has been really inspiring and exciting for us, given that it's literally, when I say me and Valentino, like he's out working to pay for obviously sustaining us as a family and the app.
Yeah.
And I'm at home doing everything I can. So marketing is me, customer service is me, talking to the developers is me, future
Hmm.
dev for the app is me. Like it's all basically falling on my shoulders at the moment. So it's a lot. And I do hope that the next sort of 12 months we can start to expand and look at getting people on to help us. But until we implement something where we're actually receiving something for the app,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. So our goal with like now is to start implementing that pay what you can strategy and see how that goes. Um, future dev, I've got really like big dreams for uForage. In
Awesome.
my mind, uForage is like what Uber did to taxis, and everyone
Cool.
uForage on their phone. If you are looking for local food, you're using, there's no question. You know exactly our app and you know exactly what you're going to do with it. But not only that, everything you can find on the app, fish, meat, honey, you can learn how to do yourself. You can learn how to be a
Wow.
beekeeper. You can learn how to hunt. You can learn how to fish. You can learn how to preserve and can foods. You can
Yes.
learn how to make sourdough, like, or you can learn how to make a garden or a compost, like basic stuff, all the way through to like full self-survival, self-sufficiency kind of skills. That's my vision. We'll see. I listen to a lot of podcasts, especially in regards to like app development and hearing the way that things evolve. The best stories come from the people that listen to the users. So the people that are using the app and what they want from it. So I think whilst I have my ideas of how I think the app should be or should look, I think the best thing we can do is just listen to what people want and what they have to say about it and really take that on board and see how we can shift and pivot and change and be what people need it to be, because that's what it
Mhm.
is, a tool for people. And just while I think about that, we haven't mentioned at all yet that there's a whole foraging aspect to the app. So it's wild growing food
Yes.
as well. And like when we're talking about emergency and like needing, we haven't even addressed like the cost of living and people, like there's people out there that are sacrificing food and their diet because they need medicine or because their
Hmm.
kids have school fees or whatever it is. There's parents out there that are like foregoing meals so that they can continue paying for the things that they need to pay for. So for me, like part of the desire and the goals for the app is that sharing. I actually want to go out in public and ask people, like, you see those things on Instagram or whatever where they're interviewing random people in public and
Yeah.
just like, how do you think we can solve hunger without money? How would you solve hunger? And in my mind, maybe not in everyone else's mind, but my mind, it's like, well, obviously we share what we have. And
Yes.
obviously we plant more trees that are accessible for everyone. Like why aren't our urban streetscapes full of fruit trees?
Hmm.
These are the sort of things that I have going on in my mind. And for me, again, it's a no-brainer. I'm just like, well, duh, obviously we share our food and share our excess. And so that there's a whole element of that as well in the app that you can go and learn how to forage weeds that are edible, and that can be a salad for your family, or you can find a overhanging mandarin tree and that's your kids' fruit for the week for their lunch boxes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yes.
things like that. And I know there's people out there living that can actually go, they know their spots, they forage, and that can sustain their family and take a pressure off and a load off and balance it out. So there's that aspect of the app as well that I'm really, really passionate about because I'm no forager. I don't know like where to go to find things. I'm getting better. But there'd be tons of people out there that would love to do something like that have no idea where to go and where to start. So yeah, I think like in terms of vision and like it's so big. I get so excited and so like I want to just explode out of my chair. It's like we could do this and we could do that and we can share and we can but at the end of the day, like it is like it's like Airbnb or Uber. You need the properties to stay in as well as the people looking for the properties. You need the people with the cars as well as the people looking for the lift. We
Hmm.
need the people with the food and the foragers that can pinpoint and find the points of food for the people that need the food. So it's a two-sided marketplace essentially. We need the community to get on board and help us build this amazing, huge global food map of amazing local food that can help people. That's essentially like what it's about.
Yeah, I'm so fired up by your passion. It's beautiful. And you're absolutely right, touching on all of those things that we haven't really dived into about the cost of living and things like this. And we're battling convenience, like how people just want to go down to the local shop or something and stuff. And you're making this convenient. You're making it easy for people to just jump on and find all of this stuff. And there might be like for instance, there's a couple of mango trees that are in a car park that I know. And like every single year I'll go past on when that's there and I'll score myself some mangoes and there's no one around doing it. And it's like, hey guys,
I know. Wow.
they're all falling on the ground, rotting away. And it's like,
Oh,
things like this, we need to connect the people that are, I guess, blindly sort of just going about their lives and trying to figure out how they put the next meal on the table to all of these growers and excess things and foraging and finding ways of getting food.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think you're beautifully bringing that all together in this app, in this vision.
We're trying. We're trying.
Yeah, as you say, the difficulty is like when
It's
you've got like some passionate thing to try and like really let that go a little bit, and but it will be what it will be, and it will kind of it'll be made by the community in conjunction with you guys, and that's a really important thing to take note of, isn't it?
It is. It is absolutely. And I wouldn't have it any other way because that's what it's all about. It's about the community. And there's even like a part of me that has to acknowledge that once people build these networks and they're not going to need uForage anymore, they're going to have their little things. And I just believe there's enough people in the world that there'll be a new lot of people coming on that have suddenly figured out, oh my gosh, organic food and local produce and regenerative farming. Like, I want to be a part of that. And there'll just always be like a recurring group of new people that want and need what we have to offer. I don't, I don't, I don't see us as like a big corporation that will ever like be greedy or, get too far, too big for their own boots sort of thing. Like, I always see us as having that heart and soul, like, and even just talking about what you just said there, those people that don't know how they're going to get the next meal on the table. I've been in those shoes too. Like, previous life, before I met Valentino, I have been at Red Cross and I have sat in front of the panel of people and had to tell them the sad story of my life of why I can't afford groceries. And it's terrible. And not everyone can do that. Not everyone can go and sit themselves down in front of a panel and explain why they need help.
Yeah.
That's, to me, I'm sorry, I'm going to swear, that's fucked up. Like, no one should have to
Yes.
do that.
You're right. You're right.
And I just think this, if it works the way I imagine it in my head, then there's so many people like that that are too embarrassed or too ashamed to go in and ask for that help that they can still find it anyway and not
Mm.
have to jump through all that red tape. So that's like another driver behind like so many layers to this story. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah, no, I like, but this is how it is. It's as you say, you have to have lived and breathed it to really see the necessity. And sometimes these wonderful things are born out of necessity, and the best ideas come from finding a need for something, and being in those shoes and being going through those things helps you to really realize what others are going through, helps you remain grateful for what you do have and grounds you very nicely. And then, as you say, you're not in it for like I guess like financial gain comes with these things, and it's nice to be able to have a bit of financial freedom at the end of the day, but that's not the drive. The drive is the community, the drive is helping others, and that authenticity is really shining through. And I just really wanted to highlight this so much, and I implore everybody to go and jump on, have a read of your story a little bit more, go on to all your socials and download the app and give it a go, because it just even if you're not sure how to use it yet, or even if you might have a friend that might have it, just kind of write it down and go, oh, this person might be able to use it. Or it's talking amongst the community and sharing and saying, hey, this is what I found, this is what helps me, this is what you can get help with too. I think it's amazing. It's a really wicked story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting us on and giving me some time to share my passion and yeah, what we really want to build and see change in the world. And yeah, I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And there we have it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on that conversation. As I said, what a incredible story Tianda shared with us. It's really moving, it's really inspiring, and I cannot wait to see where the uForage app goes in the next few years. Now, please go ahead, jump down into the description, find the links, and download the app. Give it a go. Try it out. See what you can benefit from it. Help share and connect and pin more locations for us to find more locally produced organic food. And tell a friend, because that's probably the best way that it can help to spread is you share the enthusiasm and tell a friend. So I've since downloaded the app. I'm excited to jump in and start exploring it and hopefully contribute to it as well. But thank you again to Tianda for her time and her inspiration. I hope many more of you out there are just as inspired as me. And if you enjoyed it, please leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. Let me know some suggestions to pass on, I guess, for the app and anything that you found really, really helpful. So, thank you again. If you are so obliged, leave the show a review. It helps us to find more people and more listeners. Otherwise, thank you, and I'll see you again on the next episode.